Good afternoon, ladies and gents. My name is Patu Mukwebo. I'm from the Northwest University. I'm also part of the NACA Council. So I'll be leading the next session, which is the official start of the research talks and papers. So just before I start, what was mentioned earlier this morning was very important to me. One of the speakers said, it's one thing to speak about the problems, right? Problems relating to equality and climate change without really coming up with solutions, okay? So I think this next session is trying to do that, to try and identify some of the interventions, offsets, and mitigation strategies, okay? So these speakers will try and tell us, so what? Okay, what are the solutions to these problems that we have today, okay? And I've got 4 speakers that will be speaking, and then we'll have questions afterwards when they've all spoken, okay? So the first presenter I would like to invite on the floor is Dr. Montague Murray from the Nova Institute, and he will be speaking about experience gained from air quality offsets program to reduce domestic waste burning in Ikemeleng, Northwest Province, South Africa. Dr. Murray, thank you.
Thank you so much, Patu, and good afternoon, colleagues. There's the presentation. So, the presentation is ready. As Patu mentioned, I will be talking about experiences gained from an air quality offset program to reduce domestic waste burning in Ikemeleng, Northwest Province, South Africa. Just want to make sure I've got it right here. There we go. Thank you. I will follow the generic NACA presentation format, introduction. I will look at the methods, the results, a discussion, and also a conclusion. But I would first like to start by showing you a video clip of a practical program, and this is the program that I will be talking about. But I just want to give you a practical feeling of exactly how this program works in practice, so that you can also understand the academic reflection on it. What I would like to show by this presentation is that emissions from domestic waste burning can be addressed by air quality offset programs. That air quality offset requirements go far beyond conventional waste management. The reason for that is one has to be much more strict in the way in which the reduction of waste burning is measured and quantified. And the air quality guideline that the government issued in 2016 has a very good recommendation or prescription. It says that air quality offsets should be based, the development of the program and the design of the program, as well as the implementation, on sound and relevant science. And what is interesting with science is, and I think in the air quality context, I've been working for quite a number of years there, is that it's very multi and transdisciplinary. So science is obviously chemical science, and air quality science is important, but there's also social sciences that can measure things. And in order to understand what is happening in communities, one also has to understand the social trends. I mean, how many people, if there's 100,000 people living in a place this year and there's 150,000 in 5 years from now, it has impacts on what is happening locally. So one has to look at the social trends also, and when one intervene on a household level, one has to understand what is happening to make sure that end users are in a better position after intervention. And for that, one needs quantification and science. And then good practice. I would also like to argue that this project is an example of a good practice approach. So without further ado, the video is only just over 4 minutes, and then I will do the rest of my presentation.
When people, they are not having dustbins, firstly, they are throwing it on the street, and secondly, they are burning waste. If you are living in a community which is dirty, people will get sick, people will get frustrated.
For me, home is where I get to be myself, I get to relax. Like before, I don't know if I used to call my place my home.
Nova believes that well-being starts at home. But what if your home and community are surrounded by waste?
People had to take their waste to dump inside or in the street because there was no service or any municipality that was involved. There was burning a lot. Air pollution, it was one of the factors that affect this community.
People from the outside, obviously they're going to look at us and think we are unclean ourselves. But then it's a misrepresentation of this whole place and the people that live in it.
To address this challenge, Nova has set up small-scale waste management facilities that are practical, adaptable, and embedded in the local community. For Nova, the first step in any waste management project is recognizing the vital role that waste pickers play.
They are the backbone of recycling within this community, but also our country.
These waste picking trolleys, they can pass through passages, unlike when a truck has to collect in streets that are too narrow. Using a trolley is much easier.
Using GIS mapping tools, the community is divided into service blocks. Each stand is given 3 bins, and residents are trained to sort their domestic waste correctly. Digital tools follow the waste journey from home to sorting site, helping to ensure the system works and delivers quantifiable results.
The key roles for each site, we have our site officer who oversees everything on the site.
I feel like I'm the older brother of my colleagues.
And also we have our stand evaluator who goes to people's houses and to make sure that they separate their waste at source.
What I love is educating people, talking to people. That's what motivates me.
We have our 2 sorters which sort the waste from the household.
The recyclables get put into their different categories. They get weighed. The municipality only comes for the non-recyclables which are going to the dump sites.
In Itumeleng, the data is showing, and residents are noticing, that waste burning has decreased dramatically. This is because this project is part of a community air quality offset program, a partnership between industry, the community, and Nova's waste teams.
So this intervention, it complies with the offset that needs to be committed, and it solves the problem of air quality within the community, hopefully improving that and giving access to households to waste management.
This is what leadership looks like. Industries working with communities to create cleaner, more dignified places to live, while opening up employment opportunities for young people.
Nova is making the difference in this community because this community is clean, and also this project, it did something big for me because now I can be able to rent my own house. I'm able to have money to take care of my family back at Eastern Cape. I'm even able to take care of myself.
Go tshwana le ba tla kry-ang ba sela matlakala mo jarateng ba bereka ka matlakala batho ba o kry-e re ba nyatsa mare ba etsa mmereko o motona thata.
What I would love for this community is togetherness, youth being put forward more, and also more projects like Nova coming through.
For someone, there it's back. Thank you. Yeah, I think that the video is obviously a popular video. It's not a scientific video, but it gives a practical feeling of what this project, our paper, is about. Just that you know exactly how it works in practice. So what I would like to talk about is how this program was developed. And I'm going to talk about it on a bit of a higher level. I'm not going to talk about every detailed activity and the methodology used in every detailed survey, but much rather about the larger process. So in terms of the larger process, a typical air quality offset program consists of 4 phases: a preparation phase, a baseline campaign phase, an intervention development and selection phase, and then the implementation and then also the impact monitoring and evaluation. So typically in the preparation phase, one would do a rapid in situ assessment to see if certain communities within a target area could possibly qualify for offsets, and what's the type of sources of local non-industrial air pollution in that particular communities. Then at some point the baseline kicks in. The baseline would typically consist of air quality measurements, and there would be a number of surveys. We typically do a comprehensive household survey, a community source survey, focus group interviews. In this particular program, we also did detailed analysis of the waste composition of households and detailed analysis of the composition of the waste heaps in the community, and also the number of heaps. All of this information is very important for the planning of the program, as well as to have baseline information to ultimately, later on in the project, measure the impact of the program. So then you have your intervention, development, and selection, and here it's also very important that one have to do it in stages. So there's typically a source evaluation, so you want to find a source where there can be a significant air quality impact. And then there's the intervention design, and the feasibility is very important. So typically you may have 2 or 3 or 4 interventions that you test, but if intervention only succeeds going or passes the feasibility test if it can sufficiently reduce emissions, if it has a positive quality of life impact on the end users, and if the implementation or the intervention is ultimately implementable, because that also has to happen. The preparation phase in the Itumeleng program, we kind of looked at several communities within the larger target area, and then the potential emission sources that one looked at in Itumeleng was domestic wood burning, waste burning, and vehicle-entrained road dust. The baseline campaign data helped us and showed us that what one have to address is actually waste. Because we did some air quality measurements. We had data from August to December 2020. At all 4 sites near Itumeleng, the observed daily average PM2.5 exceeded the national standard. Through our surveys, we saw that there was no formal waste collection in the community whatsoever at all. 70% of households, that's 1,400 out of 2,000, regularly burn waste. And 45% of residents said they burn waste in their own yards, where 25% burned at informal dump sites. And 30% of households occasionally dumped waste, 28% at informal dump sites, and 2% said they burn occasionally. During the intervention development, we saw that the program sufficiently reduced emissions because all households that burn waste reported that they stopped. And we had a sample there of 650 households. And all of those households reported they stopped burning and they stopped dumping after the intervention because there was a service, a full service. We also asked residents, how satisfied are you in general with your participation in the intervention? And there was a score where 10 is completely satisfied and 0 is not satisfied at all. And the median score was 10 out of 10. For participating in the program, which is a very high score. I've been involved in many community programs, and it's not usual to get a 10. Then implementation, sorting, weighing, and storage of waste went well, and thus we found that the intervention is also implementable by the local people that were recruited to work on the program. Everything is done using technology. We've got a complete record keeping with mapping of all the houses. We've got live reporting on waste volume. Waste is weighed at these sorting facilities, so we know every day what is the number of kilograms of each type of waste that is sorted. By the end of August 2025, more than 1,300 tons of waste had been processed. Bins have been placed at more than 2,000 stands and benefiting more than 16,000 residents in this particular community. In the video, the number was higher because there's also another project and the video figures combined both projects. The project has been running for 19 months now. 1,300 tons is collected per annum from more than 2,000 stands and taken to mini sorting sites. We've got 4 of them. Landfill avoidance has stabilized at 55%. And the recommended next step is we're in the process of incubating these local residents that have found employment in the program to continue and maintain the program forward. And we have buy-in from the entity that's involved that would also contribute to the maintenance. Oops, let me just go back there. So in conclusion, I would say I think the phased approach works, and I think the secret to the success of this program is precisely that prescription in the guideline that says one have to use a rigorous approach and rigorously measure results when you do a program, in the design as well as in the implementation. The community is visibly clearer. One can see with the eyes, because we also had cleanup campaigns once the program started, and because there's now a service, the cleanliness is much better. It's visibly cleaner. Local waste pickers and community members work as collectors and sorters in the program. The Rustenburg local municipality supports this intervention by collecting the non-recyclables from the mini sorting sites. So we also have buy-in from the local municipality, which is very important in these programs. The technologies like the satellite and mobile phones are innovatively used to rigorously manage and evaluate performance. And that's also something that I actually thought about during this morning's presentation, the G20 presentation. One person made the comment that we've been having cook stove for so many years, but is it really helping? I think one of the things that have changed in the last number of years is our ability to use technology to monitor impact and to get evidence-based data to base our decisions on. And I think that is going to help us going forward, using these technologies to make informed decisions with data in hand. And then lastly, my last conclusion then is emissions from domestic waste burning can be reduced through an air quality offset program. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Montagi, for that wonderful speech. I would like to invite our next speaker, Nomsa Mutero from University of Pretoria.